Hey everyone, welcome back, and we are beginning phase 3 of our Age of Apocalypse read-through. We're now at issue number 3 of all the issues, and we're reading them in an order where the storyline kind of flows in and out of each other a little bit more cohesively. You can read all the Astonishing X-Men 1 through 4 and get that basic storyline, but stuff will happen in this that leads into Amazing X-Men number 3, so on, so on. Which will all come to a head at the end in X-Men Omega. So I feel that this is the beginning of Phase 3. So here we go. Astonishing X-Men, probably my favorite storyline. Favorite comic as a kid during Age of Apocalypse, based on Joe Mad's art alone. He just had like a style that I gravitated to at the time. He was fun to look at. It was an easy read. There are some other issues that are just a little bit like confusing when you're looking at the art, even though it's not bad art. It's just a little hard to read sometimes. So where are we at this point? Well, in this particular storyline, a band of the X-Men led by Rogue has Sunfire, right? Not Sunspot. That's Sunfire. Sunspot's and Gambit and the externals. Rogue, Sunfire, Sabretooth, Blink, Wildchild, and Morph. And they're trying to stop like this mass genocide by these foot soldiers that are called Infinites. And one of Apocalypse's horsemen, Holocaust, is kind of overseeing that whole ordeal. And in the last issue, Sabretooth picked a fight with Holocaust, and Sabretooth is nowhere on his level of power. And he did that, one, to buy the others some time, and two, to trick Holocaust in revealing where like the factory was that was making all these things. So Sabretooth found that out with Wildchild, and then he sent Wildchild off. He's like, "You got that information? Good. Now get the fuck out of here and go and tell the rest." So Sabretooth had a fight with Holocaust and lost. That's the last that we saw. So here we pick up with Wildchild hoofing it like he ain't ever hoofed before, being followed by these Infinites. They're blasting at him. Got Scott Lobdell on plot, Jeff Loeb dialogue. Jeff Loeb dialogue. Huh. Is that new? Is that how it's always been? I don't know. Jim Madureira's pencils and Townsend and Milgram and inks. One thing we're going to take note of here, and I've kind of talked about this in Joe Mad's art in the past, and this is not a slight against him where it will be against other artists, and maybe that's being kind of hypocritical, but his lack of backgrounds. I think he does it in an effective way. There are other artists who just are lazy and don't put backgrounds because it's just hard to draw. I am included as one of those artists. But I always say, like, hey, I'm not a fucking professional and you're not paying me to do anything, so I'll draw whatever I want because it's my goddamn comic, right? As a professional, when you're being paid, like, maybe you should put a little bit more thought into the backgrounds. But he's able to establish backgrounds when necessary, and usually what's going on in the background isn't too terribly important. The setting doesn't matter. Where he's running, like, that doesn't matter. What he's running from and why he's doing it, that's what matters, right? So cool, picture him running as fast as he can, cool blast lines to show, like, the action. Gets zapped to the back. Again, no backgrounds except, like, the sky, which was probably just done by the colorist, and probably maybe did some ground and smoke here. No backgrounds, no backgrounds, no backgrounds. No backgrounds except dirt, floor, And how much did he do that? Maybe the inker just put those in. Maybe he just did the figures. I don't know. I don't want to know. So he gets zapped in the back. One of these Infinites comes up and is about to, like, put a bullet into him, I guess. But he says Holocaust wants you alive. But then suddenly Holocaust is here. Puts his fucking foot into him, and Wildchild looks up, and there's goddamn Holocaust. It's a cool design. I think Joe Mad designed this himself. There's kind of a comic, maybe a magazine. Maybe we'll look through it. I don't know. It's kind of pointless at this point in the story to look at it, where it kind of was more of an overall ad, because like the internet wasn't a thing back then. And they talked about how a lot of the artists were designing characters in their books. And I think Joe Mad did this one, as well as Sunfire and most of these characters. So anyways, Holocaust is here. And these infinites, I don't know if they're like people in there or are they robots? I don't know. Again, I'm kind of unclear. But they're, I mean, they have emotions, like they're surprised by Holocaust. They're like, how did you get here? We were in Indianapolis, now we're in Chicago. He's like, how'd you beat us here? And he's like, don't fucking, like, question me. I find it irritating, typical villain. Like, don't, like, just do as I say and don't talk back. So he picks him up here. Cool shot of him. You can see the size difference. Again, lack of backgrounds, but really unnecessary, right? And then suddenly, what? A fucking top hat pops up on him, and he's like, we're going to put on a show. He starts singing and dancing and talking about how fun it'll be, and these guys are like, what is going on? But before these guys can react, whatever they are, they watch the show Reboot, which was kind of a cool show if you were old enough. 1995. I watched it. Anyways, all of a sudden there's Sunfire. And he says, surrender now, unconditionally, or face the consequences. They're like, oh shit, we've been set up. Blast the traitor out of the sky. Cool action lines. Again, no background except the sky. And this is digital clouds. I don't think Joe Madureira penciled those in. I guess he could have. But maybe that was just the colorist, Steve Buccellato. Maybe he just did that. Who knows? Again, so he's like floating there with his like arms crossed, and then just like does this like supernova. I guess just lets out this heat wave, just like incinerating these fucks. And so he's like, "Hey, Holocaust, how's the kid?" And it was Morph the whole time. So cool little moment with Morph, what he can do with his powers. And then he's still making jokes, and Sunfire's having enough of it. In blinks Blink and Rogue. And they're like, okay, here's Wild Child, but where's Sabretooth? What the fuck happened? Now, Wild Child, I'm not sure. I was never aware of him before this comic. Not this, this, before Age of Apocalypse. I'm like, I don't know anything about him in the Prime Universe. But here, he's like this weird pet of Sabretooth. He doesn't communicate. He can't talk. He is a human, but he's just like this wild child. And he's trying to communicate like a dog would do, but he knows that she can't. They're like, it's about Mr. Creed, right? And again, backgrounds, there's a little rubble back here. There's some back here. That's, again, puts it in just to establish some traces of where they're at. They're in a city. It's crumbling down. It's not great condition, but it's not necessary everywhere. And they're like, we're talking about Sabretooth. He's in danger? Yep. But what are we going to do? We don't know where he is. So Wildchild just grabs onto Rogue. Like, he has, like, the presence of mind enough to know what's going on and the powers of them, and he knows what Rogue can do. So he licks her, but he touches her skin to skin, right? And here it talks about her powers, like it always has to do, in case this is your first one. And she gets a quick rundown of everything that happened. I like that I in here. So she knows it's Holocaust, and I know where they are, and she kind of has his power. She went a little feral there for a second, but she's calming down. She said, now the five of us are going to go shut down Holocaust once and for all. And they're going to give you a yummy treat because you're a good boy. He's a good boy. So, cut to Sabretooth. Again, look at all this backgrounds that he puts here, right? Some back there. Here, he's on the ground. He's being sloshed, being dragged around, I guess. Yeah. And his head gets hit on a rock, and that wakes him up. And Holocaust, like, as opposed to up here from what Morph thought he looked like. He has this helmet, but in the fight with Sabretooth was able to like grab underneath it right there and start pulling it up and yanked off his helmet. And it's this weird containment suit. I don't know how this happened. It's this weird skull thing. He was this guy named Nemesis. We saw him in X-Men Chronicles, which was showed the X-Men's first mission, he's killed Scarlet Witch. But he looked like a regular human. He actually kind of looked like Sabretooth, maybe without the sideburns. But just a powerful mutant named Nemesis. But now he's Holocaust, and he looks like this. And he has his containment suit. I don't know what's going on with him. Doesn't matter. It's a cool look. So he's like, cool, you're not dead. I get to kill you all over again. And here, look, this is where he does like a proper background. I mean, you have to here. It's the big shot of this factory is what's important, that he's holding him over. You know, if he was holding him over a cliff, like, look at this, and there's really nothing in there. But he does like good horizon lines and perspectives and all that. I don't know, you know, the process with inkers and colorists, like who put in this stuff back here. I haven't had a lot of experience with colorists, and I usually ink my own stuff. Like, I'm a one-man person, and I can't color because I'm more or less colorblind. But just the relationship between the three when you have them, like who does what, or is there like some communication? Like, hey, I'm just gonna put here. Can you do something cool with the sky? Yeah, sure, I'll do it. Anyways, he's talking. Here's a processing plant. They're gonna build an army of infinites that will trample the world, kind of a thing. You know, Sabretooth. He's a good guy here. You know, that's kind of the cool thing about Age of Apocalypse. Villains can be good, heroes can be evil. Sabretooth is a monster in the regular universe, but here he's like a good guy. But he still like has an attitude. He's basically the Wolverine of this team. And he's giving them some shit, like talking shit to him, calling him a loser. And he's like, Apocalypse will reign supreme. You're going to be on the losing end. He's like, yeah, your genetic superiority game, but you have to cheat by stacking the deck with a lot of homemade soldiers. Basically, it's not survival of the fittest that you're doing. It's just you're creating more monsters and more soldiers than anybody else can. And that kind of makes him stop. He's like, yeah, maybe some of us have greater ambitions beyond the survival of the fittest. So that kind of shows, like, does Holocaust have some plans to take over Apocalypse? Maybe. But he's like, pity, you won't be alive to see how it turns out. He just fucking like slices him with his fucking arm cannon thing, whatever is going on here, right? Blood, and he drops him to the ground, and there's all this blood coming out. Such a violent comic. They let kids read this shit? Jesus Christ. What was this, 1994, 1995? I was 12 or 13. It's fine. It's fine. Anyways, we go into a flashback, and the colors are cool, and whether it's because of the flashback or they're in a burning building, there's Sabretooth in a robe, and there's Wolverine with two hands in a robe, and he's like, hey, we gotta go, place is burning up, and he's like, no, I'm picking up a scent. They, you know, obviously we know what both of these guys can do. They can sniff and smell. He's like, there's someone here, and he's trying to get through it, and Wolverine's, all right, get out of the way, and he pops his claws and unlocks the door, throws it open. There's a kid there, you know, a kid, somebody's kid, and it's Blink. And that's how Sabretooth and Blink first met. And we've established that Blink and Sabretooth kind of have like a, you know, mentor-mentee, father-daughter, big brother, little sister, whatever kind of relationship. A lot like Wolverine has with Jubilee and maybe Kitty Pryde and some others, you know, mostly Jubilee. And that's kind of her telling the story of her first memory of Mr. Creed, Sabretooth. Hold on. Rusty. Rusty, what are you doing? You want to say hi to everyone? Yeah, he's being a silly cat right now. And of course, now he doesn't want to do shit. He's going to sit here and look at this little piece of trash. All right. Anyways, where was I? Now he's fucking around now that I put the camera back up. So they're like, yeah, we know he's important. We're going to find him. So we got Sunfire here, and he's holding this platform, which is morph, so they could all travel. Now, that's a cool idea. That's just an artist thing. But, like, goddamn, man. Shouldn't you have made, like, some handles for him to hold it instead of just putting it on his palms? He'd fucking slip off pretty easily, especially if fucking Wild Child's shifting around. And maybe put up a wall a little bit so, you know, people don't have to sit on a flat fucking surface. Whatever, it doesn't matter, right? And so Morph comes down. He starts talking with Sunfire. And Morph starts making jokes, being a little pirate. I kind of see a thing, and that pisses off Sunfire because Sunfire's super serious. Morph is super silly, so it's a dynamic. And he kind of says, "Look, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna do it with a smile on my face. Is there anything wrong with that?" And he starts singing along. He's like, "Yeah, you want me to have dignity? I'm just having fun. Because what else are we gonna do in this fucking crazy world?" He just sighs and singing in the rain kind of a thing. Again, not a lot of backgrounds. Put some clouds back there. Show that they're in the sky. Establishing shot. That's kind of what you need. X-Mansion. Here we go. We got Magneto in the crosshairs of somebody, and it's Bishop. And Magneto's like, "Can you do it? Can you look someone in the eye, pull a trigger? Can you take a life?" And here's the backgrounds you see. I mean, just put a couple of windows. They're in a building. They're inside here. Again, all you need. So they got the plan. Bishop has, the idea that if we go back, we kill Legion, we undo everything, we set the world straight. He's like, "Yeah, but can you kill somebody?" He's struggling. "Yes, I can." It goes against but he's like, "No, killing goes against so much what we're fighting for." And Magneto starts slapping him. He's like, "You fucker, you don't have the luxury. It's a war which no one can win, blah, blah, blah." Starts debating the merits of morality. Good and evil, whatever. So here's this robot nanny, and she has Magneto and Rogue's kid. That's kind of what they're fighting for, the future. But suddenly, this robot nanny, she fucking starts transforming, and they're like, "Oh shit, what's going on?" And he's like, Nanny is following his prime directive to protect my son from any external threats, and puts him in its cocoon and just goes down into the floor. He's like, "That can only mean one thing: DEFCON, Armageddon, an apocalypse is coming." So in past issues throughout Factor X and Amazing X-Men and Astonishing X-Men and others, you see that Apocalypse and his minions have been trying to find out where Magneto has their base is, and they've recently figured it out. So Apocalypse is on his way. So now we cut to Holocaust, looking at this army of infinites, and they're all marching in the form of Nazi soldiers, right? Which is supposed to, it's a good image. All I can think of is Scar in Lion King and all these hyenas marching. It's the same idea, but that's what I think of when I see this. And then he starts monologuing to himself, I guess. He said, "With this infinite army at my disposal, I've caught a swath of death and destruction, the likes of which Apocalypse has never dreamed. Survival of the fittest, and indeed, there are none who are fit to survive in the landscape I will create." And why? What are you going to do? I know it's hey, I'm evil, but once that happens, aren't you going to be bored? Doesn't anybody just want to be, chill and relax? Just have a soda and watch some TV? That's all people really want. Oh, why do you have to bring such death? Whatever. So, elsewhere in the plant, again, establishing shot, some water. Outside river runs through the coolant system, and these guys, there's an alarm, and this fucking huge-ass whale just comes flopping up. And he starts talking, and it's Morph again. Surprise attack, X-Men come out, Rogue hits people, Sunfire, Wild Child blink, obviously. So they gotta seal off the area. Wild Child slams him into the fucking wall. He starts radioing. Morph turned into a fucking octopus. Squishes this guy. "Good job," Rogue says. She's the leader. Morph is morphing into the wall. She's like, "We've been here 3 minutes. We're still alive. We just got to figure out how to take this place apart brick by brick." And then somehow, I don't know, I think she sees something. Yeah, okay. She sees it because she blinks off. Cool. I like the silhouette shade, shadows of these, but Sunfire. That's kind of a cool thing. They're like, "Where is she going?" And they're like, "Probably up that way." And here's a big, cool money shot. There's Sabretooth. Hunched over, bleeding, his fucking ribs ripped out. She sees him there. And that's the end of this issue. And what does this mean? Is fucking Sabretooth dead? He has a healing factor, but that looks pretty fucking bad, right? Cool effect with the lightning. And again, not a lot of backgrounds. You know, there's a basic, you know, wall, some perspective lines for a ceiling. He knows what people came here to see. He's no like Brian Hitch with the super detailed stuff, and he knows what he can do. But he can do it. If he were like put down like gun to his head, like, hey, draw super detailed shit, he could do it. But he just knows when and how to do it. This is just me ripping on the Rob Liefeld what he can't do. I'm sorry. It all comes back to him. So, anyways, there's issue number 3, Astonishing X-Men. Cool stuff. I'm liking it. The penultimate issues, the penultimate phases. So things are getting dire, right? Well, thank you for watching. Hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here. Let me know what other stuff you'd like me to start doing after the Age of Apocalypse books. Let me know about your thoughts on these books. Which one was your favorite? Are you a fan of Joe Mad? Or what other artist is your favorite from that time? Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.